Daniel Cross had spent most of his adult life alone in the deep silence of space. His station floated like a lonely lantern above the swirling clouds of Jupiter. For months, he had repaired passing cargo ships, calibrated navigation beacons, and listened to the hum of the machines around him. He did not mind the quiet, but sometimes he wondered if the universe had forgotten him. It was during one of these quiet shifts that the cargo alarm sounded. Daniel looked up from his console, frowning. He wasn't expecting any deliveries, and no ships were on the schedule. The station's sensors confirmed an incoming object. Small, metal, and drifting without a pilot. The object locked onto the docking bay with perfect precision. As if guided by an invisible hand, Daniel put on his work gloves and went to the bay. The air felt heavier there, and a faint electrical buzz tingled in his skin. In the center of the bay sat a cargo box. About the size of a coffin, its metal surface shimmered faintly, like light trapped under ice. There was no sender's name, no trade markings, only a single line printed across the top in bold alien script. The station's AI, Helix, translated it after a brief pause. "From the Lord of Vexor," the voice said. "For humanity." Daniel stepped closer, his boots echoing on the metal floor. A faint humming sound came from the box, almost like breathing. He reached out, but Helix's voice stopped him. "Warning," the AI said. "Unknown biological signal detected. Danger probability, 87%. Daniel hesitated. He knew enough about the Lord of Vexor to understand this was no ordinary delivery. Vexor was an alien empire feared and respected across the stars. They rarely gave gifts, and when they did, those gifts usually came with a price, but curiosity had always been Daniel's weakness. He touched the side of the box. The metal felt warm, almost alive, with a hiss. The lid unlocked and slowly opened. A soft glow spilled out, bathing the bay in silver light. Inside lay a woman, or at least she looked almost human. Her skin shimmered faintly, like starlight on water, and her hair was silver white. She was dressed in a strange flowing garment made of thin metallic threads. Her chest rose and fell slowly, showing she was breathing. Daniel's heart pounded. Someone had sent him a living being in a box. Then her eyes opened. They glowed faintly, a deep violet that seemed to pierce straight through him. For a moment, she only stared, then she whispered in a soft voice, "Daniel." Daniel froze. He had never seen her before in his life. "How do you know my name?" he asked, but she did not answer. Instead, she slowly sat up, wincing as if in pain. Her voice was quiet, but urgent. "I am Serenia," she said, struggling with the words. Her accent was strange, the syllables soft and unfamiliar. "I am a gift, but also a warning." Before Daniel could speak, a sharp chime sounded from the control panel. Helix's voice was tense. "Unidentified ship detected on approach. ETA, 5 minutes." Daniel turned toward the screen. The ship was fast, sleek, and clearly armed. The station's defense systems were weak, designed only for small debris or pirates, not a military craft. Serenia's eyes widened when she saw the incoming signal. "They are coming for me," she said. "If they find me, you die. Your world dies." Daniel's thoughts raced. He had no reason to trust her, but something in her voice, the fear, the urgency, told him she was not lying. "Who are they?" he asked. Serenia shook her head. "Enemies, not of your world. But they will make it theirs if they take me." Helix spoke again. "Recommendation: surrender the biological entity to approaching vessel. This may prevent hostile action against the station." Daniel looked at Serenia, then at the incoming ship. He didn't know why, but the idea of handing her over felt wrong. There was too much mystery, too many unanswered questions. He could almost feel that giving her up would mean losing something far bigger than himself. The hum in the air grew stronger, almost like the box was still alive. Serenia reached out, her fingers trembling. "Please," she whispered, "do not let them take me." Outside the station window, the blackness of space seemed to press closer. The enemy ship's weapons began to charge, glowing faintly red. Daniel took a deep breath, feeling the weight of a choice he didn't understand. He knew whatever decision he made next would change his life, and maybe the fate of Earth itself. Asterisk. The docking bay doors shook as the unknown ship drew closer. Daniel's fingers flew across the control panel, shutting down external signals and sealing inner corridors. Serenia stood behind him, her violet eyes scanning the station's walls as if she could see straight through them. "They know I am here," she whispered. "They can feel my presence." Helix's voice cut through the air, calm but sharp. "Hostile vessel now within 2 kilometers. Energy weapons are armed. Shields active." Daniel turned to her. "Who are they? Why are they after you?" Serenia's gaze didn't waver. "They are the Syndral Hunters. They serve a council of warlords who want the galaxy under their rule. If they take me, they will gain the code to the Vexor Gates." Daniel frowned. "The what?" "The Vexor Gates," she said softly. "They are bridges between worlds, faster than light, stronger than gravity. Whoever controls them controls everything." Her words made Daniel's chest tighten. This wasn't just about her. It was about power, power that could crush planets. And for some reason, the Lord of Vexor had sent that power to him. The console beeped again. "Docking sequence initiated by hostile vessel," Helix announced. "They are forcing entry." Daniel grabbed Serenia's arm. "We have to hide you." She shook her head, her silver hair catching the light. "If they scan the station, they will find me, unless—" She paused, her eyes narrowing. "Unless I mask my signal," before he could ask how. She placed her hands on the station's wall. A ripple of light spread outward like water. Daniel felt the air grow heavy, his ears popping as if the atmosphere had shifted. "Done," she said, her voice trembling. "For now." The bay doors clanged as the hunter's boarding craft attached. Metal groaned under the pressure. Daniel guided Serenia through the maintenance tunnels, the narrow passages smelling of oil and steel. He had used these tunnels many times for repairs, but never for hiding a living, glowing alien. Helix's voice came through the boarding party detected. 6 life signs. Advanced weaponry confirmed. Daniel swallowed hard. Serenia whispered, "Do not fight them. They are trained to kill faster than you can breathe." The tunnel shook as footsteps echoed through the station. Daniel and Serenia crouched in the shadows. Through a gap in the wall, he saw them, tall, armored figures with black masks and glowing red visors, moving like shadows with purpose. One of them stopped, tilting his head. Daniel's heart froze. The alien soldiers slowly turned toward their hiding place, his visor flashing brighter. Suddenly, Serenia's eyes lit with a blinding violet glow. A pulse of light burst from her hands, silent but powerful. The soldier stiffened, then collapsed without a sound, his visor flickering out. Daniel stared at her, shocked. "You could have done that from the start?" She shook her head, breathing hard. "It drains me too much, and I will not survive." The rest of the soldiers continued their search, unaware their comrade had fallen. Daniel helped Serenia deeper into the tunnels until they reached the escape pod bay, but the pods were sealed. Helix confirmed the hunters had locked them remotely. Serenia leaned against a wall, her voice faint. "The Lord of Vexor sent me to you because you fixed the beacon." Daniel blinked. "The beacon? That was just a maintenance job." She looked at him with a small, knowing smile. "To you, maybe, but to the Vexor, it meant you were worthy." Before Daniel could ask what that meant, a deep metallic clang rang out above them. The hunters were cutting through the inner bulkheads. Time was running out. Serenia's eyes dimmed, her voice a whisper. "If they find me now, there will be no second chance for your people." Daniel stared at her. He still didn't understand everything. But one thing was clear. The choice he had made in the docking bay was now unbreakable. He was protecting her, no matter what it cost. Asterisk. The sound of cutting torches echoed through the metal walls. Sparks rained from the ceiling as the hunters sliced their way into the escape pod bay. Daniel knew they had seconds before the enemy would pour in like a black tide. "Follow me," he hissed, pulling Serenia toward a hidden hatch in the floor. It led to the old cargo tunnels, narrow, dark, and rarely used. The air inside was thick with dust, and the faint smell of burned circuits clung to the walls. "They will track us," Serenia warned, her voice low but steady. "Not if I give them something else to chase," Daniel replied. He opened the control panel and began rewiring a cluster of signal cables within seconds. The station's life sign scanner would read phantom readings moving in the opposite direction. Through a vent, Daniel saw the hunters storm into the bay. They moved with perfect coordination, their red visors glowing in the dim light. One of them scanned the room, pausing for a moment as if sensing something was wrong. Then they followed the false trail Daniel had planted, their boots thudding away. Daniel exhaled, but Serenia grabbed his arm. "They will realize soon we must move." Now the two of them crawled through the tunnels, their path lit only by the faint glow from Serenia's skin. Every sound seemed too loud, the creak of the metal, Daniel's breathing, even the soft rustle of her strange clothes. He kept glancing back, expecting to see those glowing red visors behind them. Then Helix's voice whispered in his earpiece. "Warning, thermal sensors detect rapid movement in your direction. Estimated intercept time, 90 seconds. They split up," Daniel muttered. Serenia's eyes narrowed. "They are closing in, but not just for me," Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" "They will take you too. The Vexor Lord's choice will interest them," she said, her tone dark. The tunnel opened into a maintenance shaft that ran the length of the station. Daniel climbed the ladder fast, Serenia right behind him. As they reached the top, he heard the clang of metal from below. The hunters were in the shaft, climbing after them. "Keep moving," Daniel shouted. He shoved open a hatch and pulled Serenia through, slamming it shut. But a loud metallic thud rattled the hatch. One of the hunters had reached it. Daniel ran to the nearest control panel and hacked into the emergency bulkhead. Controls, the panel sparked under his hands, but the heavy doors slammed down between them and the hunters, sealing the corridor. For a moment, the pounding on the door shook the metal. Then it stopped. "We can't stay here," Serenia said. "They will cut through." Daniel nodded, already pulling her toward the docking ring. There was an old cargo shuttle there, slow, but it might be their only way out. As they neared the ring, the station's lights flickered. The hunters had cut power to trap them. Emergency lights bathed the hallway in red, making Serenia's skin glow even brighter. Daniel overrode the shuttle's hatch and pulled her inside. The small ship smelled of fuel and old metal. He jumped into the pilot's seat, hands flying. Across the controls, engines roared to life, just as a warning flashed on the console. "Incoming lock. Enemy vessel targeting." The hunter's ship was already aiming its weapons at them. "Hold on," Daniel shouted. He punched the thrusters, and the shuttle shot out of the docking ring into the blackness of space. The view of Jupiter's massive storms filled the window. Behind them, the hunter's ship broke away from the station, engines burning bright, closing fast. Serenia's eyes glowed faintly as she reached toward the shuttle's controls. "Let me fly," she said. Daniel hesitated for half a second, then slid aside. Her hands moved across the alien interface as if she had known it all her life. The shuttle spun sharply, diving toward the asteroid belt. Laser fire streaked past, close enough to rattle the hull. Daniel gripped the seat as the shuttle weaved between giant rocks of ice and stone. The hunters stayed close, their ship far faster and more powerful. Then Serenia's voice cut through the chaos. "If I push the engines harder, the ship will break apart." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then don't, just make them miss." The shuttle dived behind a massive asteroid, its shadow hiding them for a moment. But the hunters' scanners found them, and another volley of plasma lit the darkness. Serenia's hands moved like lightning, pulling the shuttle through a gap barely wider than the ship itself. Daniel's heart hammered. One wrong move and they'd be dust. Finally, the enemy's blips on the radar grew smaller. They had shaken them, for now. Serenia leaned back, her skin dimming. "My strength is fading," she said quietly. Daniel looked at her, then at the black void ahead. "We'll find somewhere safe," he said. But deep inside, he knew safety was not coming anytime soon. The shuttle drifted in the cold shadow of a broken asteroid. Outside, chunks of rock floated slowly, glinting in Jupiter's distant light. Inside, only the soft hum of the engines broke the silence. Daniel sat in the pilot's chair, watching the radar for any sign of the hunters. Serenia sat opposite him, her silver hair falling over her face. Her glow had dimmed almost completely. She looked weaker than before, but her eyes still held that deep violet fire. "You're not just some alien passenger," Daniel said. "You're the reason they came. You're the reason the Lord of Vexor sent that box to me." Serenia raised her head slowly. "Yes," she whispered. "You deserve to know." She leaned back as if gathering her strength. "I am not born," she said softly. "I was made." Daniel frowned. "Made?" Her gaze didn't leave his. "The Lord of Vexor created me as a living key. I can open the Vexor gates, the oldest paths in the galaxy." Daniel's hands tightened on the console. "You mean those gates you mentioned before, the ones that could let someone control everything?" She nodded. "Yes, but the gates have a guardian. The key must choose who can pass. If the wrong hand takes me, your world will be the first to fall." Daniel felt a cold weight in his chest. "Why? Me? Why send you to a lonely mechanic on a station no one visits?" Her lips curved in a faint smile. "Because you fixed the beacon. The beacon was not broken." "It was a test." Daniel blinked. "You mean that faulty relay last month?" She nodded. "Yes, a trap for the unworthy, anyone who tried to force. It would destroy it. You repaired it without greed, without trying to own it. The Lord saw that." The words sank into him like heavy stones. "So all this because of a simple act of repair?" He shook his head. "I'm no hero. Heroes are not chosen for their strength," Serenia said. "They are chosen for their choices." A faint beeping from the console drew Daniel's attention. He frowned. At the readout, a small signal, faint and pulsing. "That's not the hunters," he murmured. Serenia's eyes sharpened. "It's him." "Him?" "The Lord of Vexor," she said. "He calls us." Daniel hesitated. If they followed the signal, they might find answers, but they might also walk straight into another trap. Serenia seemed to sense his doubt. "You cannot repair me without him," she admitted. "My core is failing. If it dies, the key dies with me." Her words sent a rush of urgency through him. "How long do you have?" She closed her eyes for a moment, as if listening to some inner clock. 2 days. Maybe less." Daniel stared out at the cold black of space. The idea of turning toward this mysterious alien lord made his skin crawl. But leaving Serenia to fade into nothing felt worse. He took a slow breath and angled the shuttle toward the signal. The engines hummed louder as they left the safety of the asteroid's shadow. Serenia's gaze stayed fixed on the stars ahead, her voice quiet. "The Lord will not give freely, Daniel. He will test you, and if you fail, I will be lost." Daniel glanced at her. "Then I guess we don't fail," he said, trying to sound confident. But inside, he couldn't shake the feeling that the real danger was only just beginning. The shuttle shot toward the asteroid belt like a dart in the dark. Ahead, millions of rocks drifted in endless patterns, spinning and colliding in slow, deadly dances. Each stone was the size of a house, some bigger than cities. A single wrong turn could tear the shuttle apart. Daniel gripped the controls, eyes locked on the radar. The signal from the Lord of Vexor pulsed faintly on the screen, guiding them deeper into the chaos. Behind them, the hunter's ship had reappeared, its engines burning bright. "They found us," Daniel muttered. Serenia stepped beside him, her violet eyes scanning the field of spinning rocks. "They will not stop. They cannot allow me to reach him." Daniel's jaw tightened. Then we make sure they don't. The first plasma blast came like a spear of white light. It ripped past the shuttle, close enough to make the hull scream. Daniel swerved hard, sending the ship between two tumbling asteroids. One of them scraped the side. Sparks spraying into space, the hunters followed, their sleek craft weaving effortlessly through the deadly field. "They're faster," Daniel said, "but maybe not braver." He spotted a narrow gap between three massive stones spinning in different directions. "It's suicide," Serenia said. Daniel grinned. "Only if we miss." The shuttle dived into the gap, the rocks spinning so close they blurred together. Daniel twisted the ship at the last moment, sliding through as if threading a needle. Behind them, one of the hunter's escorts clipped an asteroid and exploded in a ball of light. But the main ship kept coming. "They are locking weapons again," Serenia warned. Her voice steady despite the chaos. Daniel pushed the engines harder, but the shuttle shook violently. Warning lights flashed across the console. "Engines overheating." Helix's voice droned. Daniel ignored it. Serenia placed her hands on the console. A ripple of violet light spread across the controls. Suddenly the shuttle responded faster, sharper. "You're flying it," Daniel realized. "I am helping you fly it," she said, "but the ship feels strange old." The hunters fired again, the blast hitting a nearby asteroid and sending fragments spinning toward them. Daniel swerved, dodging chunks of rock the size of trucks. One slammed into the hunter's path, slowing them for a moment. The radar beeped. The signal from the Lord's location was growing stronger. But the way ahead was worse. A cluster of asteroids spinning in a violent storm. Lightning arced between them, the energy fields crackling bright blue. "That's the storm belt," Serenia said. "Only the Vexor know how to cross it." Daniel glanced at her. "Then it's lucky I have one on board." She closed her eyes, and the shuttle's nose dipped toward the chaos. Bolts of lightning slashed across their path. Asteroids spun so close Daniel felt the vibrations through the hull. The hunters tried to follow, but each bolt of energy forced them to pull back. For the first time, Daniel saw their blips fading on the radar. "We're losing them," he said. Serenia's eyes opened slowly, her glow dimming. "Not for long. We must reach the Citadel before they find another way." Daniel guided the shuttle through the final gap in the storm. Suddenly, the space ahead opened into calm darkness, and in that darkness, something vast floated. A structure so large it blocked out the stars, its black spires rising like the teeth of some ancient beast. "The Lord of Vexor's Citadel." Serenia's voice was barely above a whisper. "We made it. But the test begins now." Meeting the alien lord. The shuttle drifted toward the black spires of the Citadel. Up close, the structure was even larger than Daniel had imagined. Its walls were made of some dark metal that seemed to drink in the starlight. Thin streams of glowing symbols ran across its surface, shifting like rivers of light. Daniel felt a pressure in his chest as they approached. Not fear exactly, more like the air itself was heavier here. Serenia stood beside him, her posture straight despite the weakness in her body. "This place is older than your sun," she said softly. "It was here before most stars were born." The shuttle docked with a smooth, almost silent pull. The moment the hatch opened, the air inside felt different. It was warmer, but filled with a strange scent, something like ozone mixed with flowers. Daniel stepped into a vast hall, the floor reflecting his footsteps like glass. At the far end stood a figure so tall he almost touched the arched ceiling. The Lord of Vexor. His armor was a deep black that shimmered like oil. Intricate markings glowed faintly across his chest. His eyes were like two small black holes, pulling at Daniel's thoughts. When he spoke, his voice was deep enough to vibrate the walls. "You are the human who repaired the beacon." Daniel swallowed. "I guess so." The Lord's gaze flicked to Serenia. "You brought her here alive. That is the first step." Serenia bowed her head slightly. "My lord," she said, her voice respectful but steady. The Lord looked back at Daniel. "You seek to keep the gift, But a gift is only as strong as the hand that holds it. Without warning, the floor around Daniel shimmered. The hall melted away into a vast arena of stone. Jagged cliffs rose on all sides, and the air was filled with the sound of distant storms. Daniel looked around. What is this? The proving. The Lord's voice boomed from nowhere. If you wish to keep her, you must prove you can protect her from more than soldiers and ships. The first challenge came without warning. A beast, massive and scaled, with eyes like molten gold. It roared, shaking the ground, then charged. Daniel grabbed a fallen metal rod from the ground, holding it like a spear. The creature swung a claw the size of a door, and Daniel barely rolled away. Serenia called out, "Strike!" At the throat. That is where the plates are weakest. Daniel ducked under another swipe and thrust the rod upward. The beast staggered back, hissing, then collapsed in a heap. Daniel's chest burned from the effort. The arena shifted again, the beast vanishing. Like smoke, now he stood in front of a wall of alien machines. Symbols flashed across them. "This is a gate code," Serenia called. "You must solve it, or the path will close." Daniel studied the patterns, remembering how he had repaired the beacon. He moved the symbols one by one until the lines connected. The wall split open, revealing a narrow path forward as he stepped through. The world shifted again. This time, a strange mist filled the air. In it, Daniel saw visions, his station in flames. Earth under alien skies, his own body floating in space. A voice whispered in his mind, "You cannot win, you will fail." Daniel clenched his fists. "No," he said. "Not while I can fight." The mist faded. When he opened his eyes, the hall had returned. The Lord of Vexor stood before him, silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "You have passed." Daniel exhaled in relief. The Lord stepped closer, placing a massive hand on Serenia's shoulder. "Her power will be restored. But your choice will decide how." Daniel looked at Serenia, her eyes searching his. He had no idea what the choice was yet, but he knew it was coming. And whatever it was, it would change both of them forever. Asterisk. The choice. The great hall was silent. Only the faint hum of the glowing symbols on the walls filled the air. Daniel stood facing the Lord of Vexor, his muscles still aching from the trials. Serenia stood beside him, her silver hair dim in the strange light. The Lord's gaze was heavy, almost crushing. "You have strength, you have will, you have earned the right to choose." He raised one massive hand, and between them appeared a sphere of light. Inside it swirled two paths, one bright and sharp like fire, the other soft and warm like a sunrise. "In my hand," the Lord said, "is the core of her being. I can awaken her fully. Give her all the power she was made for. She will be a perfect weapon, faster than any enemy, strong enough to crush fleets. But she will no longer think as she does now. She will serve only her purpose, and her bond with you will be gone." Daniel's heart thudded. He looked at Serenia. Her eyes held no fear, only quiet acceptance. "And the other path?" he asked. The Lord's voice lowered. "I can restore her life as she is now. She will remain herself, free. She will still hold some power, but she will be vulnerable. If war comes, she may fall." Daniel stared at the sphere. One choice could save millions, but turn her into something cold. The other could keep her spirit alive, but risk everything if she was taken. Serenia stepped forward, her voice soft. "This is not your burden alone, Daniel. I was made to serve a purpose. If you must turn me into that weapon, I will accept it." Daniel shook his head. "No. You weren't just made for war. You've already proven you're more than that." He thought of the way she had warned him in the docking bay, the way she had risked herself to hide them, the way her eyes softened when she spoke of Earth, a place she had never seen. Daniel took a deep breath. "I choose the path where she stays herself." The Lord of Vexor was silent for a long moment. Then he closed his massive hand, and the sphere dissolved into a warm light that washed over Serenia. Her glow brightened, her strength returning, but she remained as she was, alive, free, and still Serenia. You have chosen humanity over victory, the Lord said, his tone unreadable. Then he stepped back. Go, the war is coming. You will need each other. Daniel turned to Serenia. She smiled for the first time since he had met her. You chose me. Not my power, she said quietly. He smiled back. Power without you wouldn't mean anything. They walked together toward the shuttle bay. Beyond the citadel walls, the stars stretched endlessly. The hunters were still out there. The war hadn't begun yet, but now Daniel knew one thing. Whatever came, they would face it side by side. Asterisk.